Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 17 of my How to Make Video Games tutorial series. In this part of the tutorial, we're going to make Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man or whatever, and what we're going to really focus on in this part of the tutorial is I'm going to create all the sprite assets we're going to need for our game, and I'm also going to show you how to place them with precision because we're going to be creating a grids type game here in which numerous 2D games are based off of. And then I'm going to start setting up the project so that we can continue in the next part of the tutorial. Like always, all of the images and so forth in this tutorial are available in a link in the description, and I have a lot to do, so let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to be using GIMP just like I've been using. It's exactly the same on Windows as well as on Mac OS and everything else. So that's a good reason to use it. First thing I want to do is I want to create my sprite sheet. It's going to have all my different sprites that I need. So I'm going to go File and New. And then I got to think about exactly what I want this to be on the sprite sheet. So I'm basically going to need 4 ghosts. And those ghosts are going to have to be able to look to the left, to the right, down, and up as they move in those directions, because that's how Pac-Man works. So I'm going to need 4 of those. So that means on top of that, I'm also going to need my Pac-Man, of course, or Miss Pac-Man is what I'm going to create. And I want to do a little animation with her. So why don't we just go and say that we want to do 4 sprites for her animation. I'm also going to need a dot as well as a larger pill, and I'm also going to need the ghosts whenever Miss Pac-Man eats a pill and gets the power to eat the ghosts, and the blue ghosts or whatever. And I want to do a simple animation with that. So based off of that, I think that I'm going to need about 24 different individual sprites just off the top of my head. And that means that I'm going to, if I'm going to make this 16 by 16 sprites, that means that it is going to be 64 by 96, or I could do it in the opposite direction, but I'm going to do it that way. And that looks like that's going to be good. I'm going to come over here to my pencil tool. I'm going to make sure that I have this set for pixel and my size set for 0, dynamics off, and also my eraser, pixel once again, size to 1, dynamics off, and hard edge applied. And everything else there looks pretty good. And here is my sprite sheet. I'm going to click on Z so that I'm going to be able to zoom in on this sprite sheet. I'm also going to want to make this transparent. So I'm going to come over here, just like I did previously. Click on that, layers menu, and I'm going to say add alpha channel. I'm then going to come up here and go to layers menu again, and I'm going to say that I want a new layer and that I want it to be transparent, and I'm just going to click on OK. Then I'm going to click on the background guy here, and I'm going to delete that layer. Okay, so now we're going to be working in our transparent little sprite sheet. Now, I think it's kind of easier to do this if I go and actually use rulers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and drag out some rulers. Just reach in here and I'm going to go to 16 and I'm going to go to 32 and I'm going to go to 48. And that's just going to help me figure out where I can draw and where I can't draw. Once again, I'm going to come down here to 16 and 32 and 48. And 64, and I'm just multiplying 16, each time. So each one of these is going to be 16 by 16, so this is going to be 64. And then the last one I'm going to need is going to be 80. All right, so now we got that all sectioned off, and I know what I can do in the area that I'm working with, so that's good. Go in here and zoom in again. And I got to think about how I'm going to draw. Well, first thing I want to do is I want to draw a ghost. And then you guys have said you want me to do more in regards to actually showing you how I draw. So I'm going to do that. Very first thing I want to do is I want to get myself a red color. So I'm just going to click up inside of here and pick out a nice red that I'm going to use as a base for my Mario. And I think that looks like a pretty good red, so I'm going to select that. And then I'm going to come in here and just draw my first ghost. So I'm sort of basing this off of, the actual ghosts that they have in the game, but I'm also going to play with it and make it my own a little bit also. So let's say I want to go in here and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's draw the top of the ghost head. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so I drew a little red line inside of here. We got 6 spaces on the left, 6 spaces on the right, 4 right there. Going to switch back into this again, and let's say I want to go and add a little bit more to it, and then we'll add just a little bit more to it. And I'm just playing around here with an idea and loosely basing it off of a Pac-Man ghost. Draw in a couple more little lines right there. And then maybe go out here and finish this off. I want to keep it within the bounds of 16, and I don't want to butt it up against it. So I'm going to come right down here. Nah, I don't want to do that. I'm going to click on the E to erase that. Click on N so I can continue drawing. And then I'm going to draw in the bottom of my ghost. I'm going to put like a little bit of a shadow on this, I think. Let's go and just play with it and see how it works out. So let's go like this. And then as I draw a little bit more, you're going to see what I'm working with here. Really, with pixel art, one of the most important things is just having things be symmetric. And if you can make things symmetric, everything will look like it's, you know, it's professionally done, like it's supposed to be done. All right, and then I'm going to finish that off. All right, so let's see how this ghost is going to work out here. I already know it's going to look okay at least, because otherwise I wouldn't be showing it to you here in the tutorial, obviously. So there we go. We got the basics of our ghost. Now I want to go in here and draw in our eyes. So I'm going to switch this over to white. I'm going to change this to all Fs so that it's pure white. Let's say I want to come in here one line and then start drawing my eyeballs from this point. 3, and then go in and do a little bit more. All right, so that's pretty good looking eyes. Let's go and give myself 2 spaces again. Everything, all that I'm basically just doing here is just thinking, make it symmetric. That's all that I'm thinking about. And of course, make the eyeballs exactly the same size. And there we go. And there's our eyeballs. And now what I can do is let's go and get like a purple for the actual eyes. So I click on over here and then find ourselves a purple that we sort of like. That looks like a pretty nice little purple color, so it'll work out good there. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to come in here and draw my eyeballs in. And let's just start off, whoops, let's move that back over here. I'm going to make the eyeballs look to the left to start off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some shading so that it looks a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to get a lighter shade of red and outline it on the left, like the sun is hitting it, you know, in this direction. And then the sun's not going to hit this side, so I'm going to use a darker shade of red. So let's come in here and find a better shade of red. And that looks like a good enough color, just something. And then I'm just going to come in here and color that, see? So it's just slightly different color. And I'm just going to highlight the outside, like I said, just like the sun is hitting it. So that's all we want. And this guy's going to be very, very small, so it's not going to be all that noticeable on our screen. All right, now what I got to do is come in and get a dark version for this side. It's going to give the illusion of 3D. And that's a pretty good color. Click on this, and then we're going to come in here and color it. And of course, you can color it whatever color you want to color it. So there we are. We can shade in just the outside edges here. And then maybe come in and just color that part right there. And then come up here, do something like this. Color that, maybe fill that in also, and then fill in right here. And it looks pretty good, you know, not bad. And then what I need to do is just make 4 copies of that ghost with the eyeballs going in different directions. And you'll see what that looks like here in a moment. Now what I want to do is draw my Miss Pac-Man. Now what I want to do here is I want to have a partially open mouth in this direction, then I want to have a closed mouth, and then I'm going to go back to the partially opened mouth, and then I'm going to have a really wide open mouth, and it's going to jump between those inside of the animation. So I want to start off with the base of the completely closed mouth. So I'm going to switch over to my pencil tool, and I'm going to come down just 1 space. I want her to pretty much fill the space, but not quite, so she's roughly the same size as the ghost. And I'm going to come in, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, and then I want to use a yellow color. Let's go and get the yellow first. Click on yellow here, and go and try to find ourselves a color that looks good. Okay, so that's a pretty good yellow. Let's click on it. Okay, and then let's start drawing her. So what did I say? 1 space down and 5 in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then here we are. And then I can start drawing. How many do I want? Let's say that I want to do like 7. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's pretty good. And then I'm going to try and, you know, basically just have it be a circle. Draw that in there, and there we go. And then I think I'm actually going to stop it right there. Drawing another line like that. And she's going to sort of have pursed lips because Miss Pac-Man has lipstick on. So this is actually going to be red, so we'll just go and throw that in. That's where the lips are going to show up. And then we're going to throw 2 more yellows underneath that. And then I'm just going to start filling it in to make it more circular once again. So we're just going to go like this, and like this, and like this. All right, so there we go. We got Miss Pac-Man sort of drawn in. So now what I need to do is figure out the rest of it. So I want to give her red lips, of course. And that looks pretty good. And we'll come in here and draw our red lips. 1, 2, and 1, and 2. So there's the red lips. Then I'm going to have to come in and draw in her bow. So I'm going to get some red colors once again. Let's make it different than the lips though. So there we go. It's like a darker color. Grab that. So what are we going to do with the bow here? I'm going to go in like, say, 4 spaces. And then start drawing our bow inside of here. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we'll also color it up there. And then draw in the rest of the bow right there. This is going to be where the knot is. So I'm going to go 1 and 2. And then maybe 1 and 2. And then 1 and 2. Okay, so there's an approximation of a bow. Actually, you know what? Let's go like this. And then go like this. All right, so there you go. See, it's just based off of everything looking the same. That's the most important, and having everything be the same size, same number of shapes, and so forth and so on. That's the most important thing with pixel art, at least whenever you're first starting. Now I need to figure out where her eyeballs are gonna go. Firstly, I'm gonna come in here and make this black, obviously. Click on OK. And I think the eyeball should be something like 1, 2, just a very simple. There you go, there's eyeballs. And now I'm going to do the same thing. Well, let's go and also get a different color for her bow. I think a little bit, I'm going to lighten this up a little bit. So let's go get a different color of red that's a little bit lighter. You know what? I think I'm going to make it the same color as the lips just to have some consistency there for the highlight on the bow. So we'll go in here and then add the highlight. So like this and like this. And maybe up here and up here. And maybe like this and like this. There you go. And that looks kind of good. All right, so there we are. And then I want to get I'm feeling weird about this. I feel like there should be like something right here in the lips area. So I'm going to get another shade of red and then just do like a real light, actually maybe a yellow. I'm going to use the same yellow that I used for the highlight for this. All right, so I'm going to come in here. I am going to click on O, and then I'm going to come in and select my Pac-Man, and I'm going to get a lighter version of what we have already here for our yellow. And there it is. I'm just eyeballing this. There's no real, science to it. And then I'm going to come in and just highlight around it, just like I did previously. So I go like this, and it's a very, very, very subtle color, or at least I think it's subtle. I'm colorblind, by the way. And let's go, and this would sort of be like her mouth closed or something like that. All right, so just subtle. And then I want to go and put some highlights around the dark side, or the side not facing the sun. So once again, come in here and just eyeball a darker color. I just click on that, and let's go and get one. And what I'm going to do is just come in here and highlight it, just like I did previously. So it's going to, from a distance, it's going to have like a 3D effect to it. All right, good enough. Okay, so now that I have that as a base, what I'm going to be able to do is go and shape it into another Pac-Man version, which is the mouth is going to be slightly different. So I'm going to come up here and select the little square selection tool, and I'm going to select this whole entire guy, this whole entire girl, I guess. I'm going to do a copy on that. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a paste, and I am going to keep this selected. I'm going to drag her over here like this and position her in place. And then I'm just going to click anywhere to seal her into place. All right, so there we got our Pac-Man all set up. Now I'm going to try to figure out how to make her look normal with her mouth open. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get my eraser tool. Grab my O, I'm going to come in here and just sort of scribble on top of what I got here already. So I'm going to come in and sort of draw that like that, just to extend her mouth out a little bit. And then have this go out 2 spaces. And then I think I'm going to get her lips up here. So I'm going to go O, and then I'm going to go back to my pencil tool and draw in some lips. So I'll go 1, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to get my eraser tool by capital E, and I'm going to go in there and start deleting some stuff. So 1, 2, like I said, just eyeballing this and doing something that looks like it might be good. And that looks about right. So then I'm going to jump down here and come in a little bit more, getting close to that eye. So I'm going to come down once again, and I think that's pretty good. So now what I just need to do is make the bottom the same as the top. So I'm going to come in here like that. And we can delete all this stuff right here because we don't need that. We can delete all that as well. Once again, just symmetrical is all I'm aiming for. So I'm going to make that symmetrical with that. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go get O so I can sample the lip color once again. Go back into the pen tool, or the pencil tool, and put that in there. And I think that's a good midway mouth open sort of look. Everything else is highlighted pretty well, and there you go. So that's basically that. And I'm going to go and draw the other different Pac-Mans, but I think you get the idea here. And I just want to come in now and draw the dots just to do something else a little bit different. Actually, I didn't leave enough room for my 4 ghosts. I only got 3 inside of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my selection tool once again. Going to select my Pac-Mans, or Miss Pac-Man. Okay, so just select that and paste them in there and then position them down inside of here once again. Looks pretty good. And then click anywhere just to unselect that. And now I'll come in here and draw in my dot. Once again, pretty simple. All it's going to be is it's just going to be about symmetry. That's all that matters. I'm just going to click on this so I can switch over into white. Then I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, and 4 spaces. And how many of these am I going to want? Well, I'm probably going to come in a certain number. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then start drawing my dots from this position here. And let's say that I want to do something like 4 dots like that. It's a little bit hard to see since it is white. And I can come up here and change that. So I'll go File, and whoops, it's not there. It's going to be in Preferences under Edit. So Preferences. And this guy pops up. And this is useful to know anyway. And default grid, and is this where it is? No, it's display. Display, and I'm going to use, let's say, dark checks, and you can see they changed. It looks a little bit better. So let's come out of there, and now I can see my, how to draw those dots a little bit better. Like I said, it's all about symmetry. So I'm going to have this be the same, and go like this. This is going to be the little dot. How many of these do I want? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Is that right? Let's try it. 1, 2, 3. I want everything to be symmetric. So is this the same? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it isn't. So I'm going to take it one more. So I'm going to go like that, and like this, and then like that. And there you go. It looks pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is go and use a slightly darker gray inside of here. So let's come up here, select this. Let's change this from FFF to EEEE, just to keep it nice and simple. I know that's going to be a gray. Then I'm basically going to do the opposite of what I've been doing. Instead of drawing in the highlight, I'm going to draw around the highlight. So that looks good. Okay, select all that. And there we go. And now I'm going to draw a little bit darker on here. So let's just come in here and select it. And I'll say something like 9B, 9B, 9B. I know that's going to also be gray. And we'll go and add the dark lines to it. So there's that. Once again, just gives from a distance. It's going to give the perception that that's 3D. All right. Okay, and then after drawing in all the rest of them, I'm doing basically exactly the same type of stuff I just showed you. You end up getting this look right here. So here are our 4 ghosts looking in the different directions. There are going to be the different animations for our Miss Pac-Man. Small dot, big dot. I'm actually going to color that yellow probably, and then this will be the different ghost look, and you can see their mouth is going to move. All right, so there is going to be our sprite sheet, and I'm going to save that as sprite sheet and open it up in Unity, and now I'm going to show you what I did with the grid. Okay, so here is my grid system. I guess I should sort of zoom out first. So here is the grid that I created for our Pac-Man game, and it looks, very, very similar to a Pac-Man type game. But I used an immense amount of precision in actually crafting this. And I'm going to zoom way, way in here so you can see. Once again, I used rulers. And I want to show you exactly what I did. So the grid system, remember Pac-Man and all of our assets are based around 16 by 16 pixel sprites. So as you can see, this is a 16 by 16 pixel sprite, this upper corner, this whole entire thing. Then I'm going to have the path where the Pac-Man and the ghosts and everything, all the dots, everything are going to go inside of. And you can see right here, this perfectly fits. There are 4 pixels right here, and then there's going to be 4 pixels here going in and 4 pixels coming down. So we're using a grid-based system that is going to be insanely precise. So we have the entire game based off of that. And if you look around, of course, I have all of this available in the description, so just go and get it if you don't want to draw all this out. But this is how to make a precise game that is going to do everything that we expect it to do. All right? I've never made a game so far in this tutorial that is this precise. So everything is 100% precise in regards to what we're doing here. And then we can zoom out once again, and you can see the complete game board. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export that as a PNG file. So export as, after I got that done. Going to do the same thing with the sprite sheet, of course. Make sure that this is set for PNG, and then we'll jump over into Unity and start using this stuff. Okay, so here is Unity. I'm going to go New. And I'm going to call this Miss Pac-Man. So Miss Pac-Man. And this is going to be 2D, of course. And I'm going to go and select where I want to put it. And then after I have that set, go create project. Just like I always do, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a whole bunch of different folders. So I'm going to say create folder, and I'm going to create an animations folder, and inside of my assets here, create and folder, and I'm going to create a prefabs folder just like before, create, and a scenes folder, and a scripts folder, and a sounds folder, and then finally a sprites folder. And that should do for everything that I need right now. And I'm going to go and get my assets that I just created. So there's my sprite sheet, there's my game board. I'm going to select both of them, grab them into my sprites folder, drop them in there. And now if I select sprites, you're going to see that both of them show up inside of there. So good stuff. I want to select my game board, and I want to set this to pixels per unit to 16. Extremely important because everything's based off of the fact that there's 16 by 16 pixel grids, and I'm going to be using that. Filter mode is going to be point because this is pixel art, and that's all I need to do with that. I'm actually going to select my main camera here. Unapplied, it says unapplied, import settings apply. Yes, I forgot to do that. Okay, then I got main camera selected here. I'm going to have the background be black. So let's select this, and it pops up over here, and I'm going to select black. All zeros, of course. Close that, and you can see it's all black now. I'm going to also come in here and change my size to 16. Then I'm going to grab my game board that I have over here, drag it, drop it into my hierarchy. And geez, that looks perfect. That was an accident. All right. Yeah, looking good. But I'm actually going to want to position this. If we zoom way inside of here, well, let's zoom in using my actual zoom tool. And to move this around, I'm holding down the right mouse key. That's how I'm able to move this around. All right. So what I want this to do, of course, is I have this grid system in here based off of 16 by 16 because that's what I defined that I want to use. So I want to take advantage of that. I want to make sure that this lines up perfectly with that. So I'm going to select my game board. And I also want to try to get these numbers to be normal. I don't want, I want at most to have, say, 3 numbers, 2 numbers, something like that after it. And I want some consistency in how these are all laid out. So this is all at the 0, 0 mark at this point. And I'm just going to grab this X and I'm going to position it until it looks like everything is set up the way that I want it set up. And I finally decided I wanted it to be 13x by 14.5. And how I did that is by looking right here. You can see that everything is lining up perfectly. It looks like it is perfect within our grid system. Okay, so I'm going to base everything off of that. Then I'm going to adjust my camera so that the camera completely surrounds it. So select main camera. And I can go and put 13 inside of there, and then 14.5 once again, and everything looks like it lines up perfectly. All right, so there it is. And we can zoom out of this and then start working with the rest of our graphic assets. I want to come in here and splice my sprite sheet. So I'm going to select that so all these different pieces all fit together. So I'm going to come in here instead of single. This is going to be multiple, of course. Pixels per unit, of course, are going to be 16, just like we did previously. Filter mode is going to be point because it's pixel art. I'm going to come down here and change this to high quality so that it keeps all of my colors nice. Sometimes it doesn't, but for right now, we're going to do that, and that should keep everything looking good. Then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click on Sprite Editor. Yes, apply. I forget to do that all the time, but thankfully it tells me. Then I'm going to come in here and go slice and grid by cell size. Of course, these are 16 by 16 because everything's 16 by 16. Click on slice and then click on apply, and we can close that. And now we can come in here to our sprite sheet, click on it, and there are all of our different pieces. Okay, looking good. And some of them are a little bit mangled, but you know, for what we're doing, looks pretty good. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to get my Miss Pac-Man and position her onto our screen. And she's going to start off right here in this position right there. So I'm going to get her entire animation. So that is 16 through 19. So we'll go 16 through 19. Select them all and then grab her. And we'll position her perfectly here in a moment. But for right now, I'm just going to drag her right there. This is going to pop up, animation. And I'm going to name this Miss Pac-Man, of course. So Miss Pac-Man, and that's the animations. And make sure you save it in your animations folder. So assets and animations, there we are. And click on save. There she is. And she looks like she's pretty close. But what we can do is we want to use perfect precision. So we're going to use the inspector to perfectly position her. And that is going to be at 13.5 and 6.5. So it was off by just a little bit. All right, so that looks good. And if we zoom in once again, it looks like she is pretty well positioned in our grid system. I'm then going to come in here and change this to Miss Pac-Man instead of Sprite Sheet 16 because that doesn't make any sense. All right, got that. Click on that once again. And then we want to come over here and we want to open up our animator tab. So select that. And I want to just slow down the speed of the animation. To do that, we're going to select the Miss Pac-Man right here. And I'm going to take it down to say, I don't know, 0.5. I just do this because it normally is ridiculously fast. And what we can do is we can come in here and play it and see how quickly she's opening and closing the mouth. So there you see her right there. Yeah, you know what? I think I made it a little bit too slow. Let's make it a little bit faster. Let's try like 0.6 and run it again. And there you can see it looks a little bit better. Okay, so I'm liking everything so far. Go back to our scene. Another thing we're going to want to do here out front is we're always going to make sure that Miss Pac-Man is on top. We don't want anything else to ever show up below her or above her, like dots and things that we're going to be placing here in a second. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a new sorting layer. So I'm just going to select Miss Pac-Man, and you can see sorting layer. I'm going to come in here and go add sorting layer. This is going to open up right here. I'm going to come over here, select that, and I am going to name this new layer Miss Pac-Man. And whatever is underneath is going to be what is on top. I know that doesn't make sense, but whatever is closer to the bottom ends up being on top of everything else. And you're going to see that that's true later on as the tutorial continues. So select Miss Pac-Man, and now you can select Miss Pac-Man in our sorting layer. So that's fixed. And I am going to actually fix the other stuff here at a later part in the tutorial in regards to making Miss Pac-Man work. In the next part, we'll do that. Now what I want to do is I want to set up our pills as well as our dots. So I'm going to go create empty, and I'm going to select this and call it dots. And then I'm going to go create again, create empty, and I'm going to call this pills. And then we're going to go and get our pills and dots. Whoop, there it is. There is our dot. So I'm going to grab that guy and I can throw him right there. It doesn't really matter. What I'm going to do now, however, is I'm going to rename this dot. And I might as well just go and get the pill on top of that. So where is it now? There's the pill, bigger one. Drag that, drop that right there, and rename that pill. And then I'm going to drag these, make these prefabs so that any change to one is going to affect all the other ones. So I'm going to grab this, drop it in the prefab section, grab the pill, drop it in the prefab section, and then I'm going to go and delete the original sprites that I put inside of there. Then grab the dot, drop it in there, and grab the pill and drop it inside of there. And now we are about ready to start laying in these guys. All right, so now to make sure that everything lines up in a grid type of system, what I'm going to do is I am going to select this guy right here, the main dot inside of there. And I'm going to put it in the X position of 1. So just come over here and delete that, change that to 1. Delete that, change that to 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the dots, the big folder dots, and I'm going to position it so that the dot shows up down here where it's supposed to. So we're going to just grab a hold of this guy and drag it into place. And then drag it down so it looks like it's roughly in the right spot. And then what we can do is we can zoom in on that and perfect it until it is in exactly the right space. So that's obviously not right. So let's grab this and let's just play around with it until we get it in the right position. So there we are. And that is going to allow us to get our grid position exactly where we want it to be. So it's like roughly there, and maybe just tweak this. Let's take that down, delete that altogether, move it over a little bit, and just play around with it until it looks really, really close to what you're looking for. So that looks dead on perfect. All right. So now that we have that dot, once again, in the X1 and Y1 position, so we can work with our grid system, what we're going to do then is we're going to duplicate it. Well, actually, let's copy this and this guy right here, and I have no problem with that being negative 0.49. That's okay. So we'll go and copy that to our pills section as well. So we'll throw that in there, and this was negative 0.49. So that's perfectly fine also. So the pills and the dots are going to line up and everything will be in the grid. And then we're going to grab this guy and we are going to duplicate it a whole bunch of times. So we'll go duplicate. And then all we need to do is we're moving it on the X axis. So we'll just change this to 2 and it'll automatically go directly where we want it. And that'll make sure that everything lines up perfectly. And then you'll just have to duplicate it again, change it to 3. and so forth and so on. And this is going to be tedious, but there's really no easy way around it, and you're going to have to draw all of those guys out on your screen, and I'm going to do that right now. Okay, and I got most of the board done here, and I'm just going to go and get the rest of this right here. So I'm going to go and select all these, of course, just to save some time. All right, and then with all those selected, once again, come over here and go duplicate, and then change this to 29, and everything's in place. Whoops, I don't need those two inside of there, so let's go and just delete them. So delete this and this one, and they are deleted. All right, so we got our whole board filled up, and now what I'm gonna do is go and place in the pills. So I'm gonna go and grab this guy right here, and I'm gonna place him right here. So that says 17, so that's where he's gonna go. So I'm gonna delete the dot, where's that? There it is. Delete that, and then we're gonna put our pill in the 17 slot. So we'll go over here and change that to 1 and change that to 7, and it's perfectly inside of there. And then we will go and do, well, let's go and just write this down. Let's get this one. This is gonna be 26, 7. And then I'm going to put the other dot right here. That is 125. And then this guy is 26, 25, 26, 25. So let's just go and we can delete all of those. So we'll go delete and delete. And then finally delete. And there it is. And then we'll go, we can close the dots so that we don't have that taking up all the screen. And then we're gonna make 3 duplicates. So we'll go duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. And then we can select each of these individual guys and put them in the right place. So the next one is gonna be 26 and 7, that's fine. We will grab this one and it will be 1 and 25, and then the final one is gonna be 26 and 25. See, everything's in a grid system, everything looks perfect, everything is wonderful. And there you can see is our game board, and if we run it, you can see there is Miss Pac-Man going across the screen. And in the next part of the tutorial, I will cover exactly how to move her around inside of our grid system. And like always, please leave your questions and comments below. Otherwise, till next time.